Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours. And I just thought we'd continue on with the Valentine's Day theme. I know Valentine's Day has been and gone, but wouldn't it be nice if we could just extend that loving, caring feeling just for a few more days or a week or so, and just give everybody something positive to sort of hang on to. It's been such a turbulent 12 months with COVID and everything else that's been going on in the world. I just think we could all do with having a little breather and sort of thinking about hearts and flowers and being in love and loving what we're doing. I mean, even if you aren't in love and you don't have a special someone, you can still love yourself and you can still love what you like to do in life. And I think that's the important thing, is finding the joy in ourselves, not necessarily looking for some external force or some external person to give us that joy within ourselves. If we find the joy within ourselves, I think we truly are rich. We truly do have everything. Along with our health, we have everything that we could ever want. Money is only a byproduct. Money is only something that makes the world go round and makes our lives easier, but it certainly doesn't bring a joyful heart. So moving along, let's work with the Simply Tarot card of the week. And now, before you all sort of take shock, horror, gasp, it's the Tower card. It's one of my most least likely favourite cards, I hear a lot of people saying. Let's just work our way through it. Yes, it can be the card of catastrophe. Well, haven't we been living through a catastrophe with this pandemic around the world in the last 12 months? Sometimes it can relate to the card of an accident, but more importantly, most of the time it's this meaning: things happening very quickly at lightning pace. Now, one of the reasons I like the Tower card, and the Tower card is actually one of my favourite out of the 78 in the tarot deck, is because when I see this card, it indicates to me that whatever has been blocked in my life that has been stopping me, if everything has come to a standstill, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like a bolt of lightning, is going to come the movement, is going to come the shake-up, is going to come the breaking of the momentum, is going to sort of start to get my life moving again. So I always look at this card as being incredibly positive. I almost always sidestep the first two words. And I look at, wow, good, things are moving, things are going to start to happen. I'm coming out of the rut, things are moving forward. And it also can relate to, in a sense, almost like the planet of communication, Mercury. It can bring with it some very conducive, exciting sort of thought patterns or answers to questions, things that have been troubling us for a while, and then sort of bingo, all of a sudden, that light bulb moment. So if you look at the Tower card in that way, it's actually a very, very positive card. It's a card that clears things along. When we have a thunderstorm, and lightning and rain and thunder, and we sort of tend to think, oh, good, that's cleared the air. We say that. So look at the Tower card in that way, if you can. Now, I want to sort of talk about astrology as we do every week. Not a lot has changed in the last 7 days astrologically. The big news this week is that Mercury, the planet of communication, is finally going to start to go direct on the 20th or the 21st, depending on which part of the world you're in. So let's say the 21st to be on the safe side, February 21. It means then finally communications will start to get back to normal. People will start putting their listening ears on. Devices and things like that should function properly. We shouldn't have hiccups in our technological systems. You know, Skype and all those wonderful gadgets that we all use daily will suddenly start to work, and people won't be sort of having a conversation with no voice. So that's an amazing thing to be able to move forward and sort of say we can breathe a sigh of relief. Now, we still have the usual things that have been happening for a long time. We've still got Pluto and Capricorn. Pluto's role is can transform the planet. We all know about that. We've still got a major plethora of planets. Half of the planets and luminaries that we work with in the zodiac are still sitting in Aquarius, so I'll quickly run through those. Saturn is holding hands with Mercury retrograde, which I've already spoken about, holding hands with Jupiter, the planet of expansion and opportunity, holding hands with Venus, and finally holding hands with the Sun, which is where we get our ego and our drive from. But it also shows us where we are astrologically for the year. So with so much emphasis still sitting in Aquarius, yes, our minds are still racing. Yes, we can have some light bulb moments. Yes, there's a lot of chit-chat going on around the world, and there's a lot of, you know, if you're looking at the news cycle at the moment, you're sort of almost sick of it and want to turn it off. Yes, you know, I know our US friends have had, you know, the impeachment second time of their former president, and that sort of should be now in the rear vision mirror, but it's probably just beginning in another way. In that way, we've finalised one area of politics, and they'll probably move on to other areas or legal suits or whatever. So the media cycle is being dominated by things like that. The thing we should be dominating the media cycle more so is about how do we wrap our arms around COVID. That should be the more important thing, and how do we keep people safe. But it's sort of like we've all tuned out from that. We're all sick of hearing about it, so we're just sort of trying to get on with our lives the best way we can. But we can't ignore that. We need to still sort of look at ways that we can, as individuals, do the very best that we can for ourselves, our family, and our loved ones. Finally, astrologically, we've got the moon, the emotional planet, which moves very quickly around the zodiac, is holding hands with Uranus, which is like the Tower card that we just worked with in the tarot. I'm pleased to say that they're both sitting in Taurus, which is a very practical, logical, down-to-earth sort of sign, and is giving us a chance to catch our breath. So we're being given a chance to catch our breath on an emotional level at the moment, even though we might have some light bulb moments. We sort of feel like, oh, this is good. I can just exhale and I can catch my breath. I can have a rest for a minute or two and then we can go again. Now, the reasons why I sort of wanted to skip through the astrology section rather quickly, number one, there wasn't a lot of difference from last week's report. But also this week, my inbox, and I did another radio show out of New York yesterday, and the general theme this week has been people asking how do they know when their dearly departed loved ones are close to them. So I thought we'd have a little chat about that this morning before we take some calls. Now, it's a very, very personal and a very individual thing. I want to be very clear, these are my personal belief systems. They may not work for you. Everybody has to take out what works for them. And if none of it works for you, that's fine. Keep searching until you find the answers that do fit you, that you feel in your heart or in the pit of your stomach is right for you. Now, the first thing that I want to say is our dearly departed never, ever, ever forget us. Just because they've left the earthly plane, it doesn't mean that they're not in connection with us, that they don't see what goes on in our day-to-day lives. And let's be very clear, yes, they might see everything, but they do not see what happens in our bedroom as we're dressing for the day or we're taking a shower or we're going to the bathroom. Those sort of places are forbidden. They're not allowed to see those sort of personal activities, but everything else that we do, from making coffee, dropping the kids at school, going to ballet lessons, going to work, being stuck in the traffic, they see all that and they share all that with us. Now, how do we know that they're close to us? Well, that's a really big question, because everybody has a different set of symbols or different things that will happen to them that will mean to them that's a particular person that's passed over, or just that one of the family members or a friend is coming to visit. Now, there's lots of schools of thought from this, from different coloured feathers to butterflies to the most common things that I've noticed in the last 40-odd years of being in this work is this. The most common thing that they do is like turning light switches on and off. And that's because it's dramatic. It gets our attention quickly. And we sort of think, are we having a power blackout? Oh, no, the light wasn't on. So they've suddenly got your attention. Now, if they continue to do that, then I sort of start to get the giggles and I sort of turn around and say to them, well, hey, look, I know you're there, but don't forget I'm the one paying the power bill, not you. And usually that sort of is enough to subside that. It's usually that they just want to acknowledge that you know that they're there. So please voice it out aloud. One of the other things that they love to do is turn radios on and off, stereos, television sets, computer screens, devices, turn your phone on and off. Things like that, things that they know that are going to get your attention. One of the other things that is probably a little bit less common is that quite often people say to me, oh, I was thinking about Dad and on came his favourite song on the radio when I was driving in the car, or I was watching television and all of a sudden a sentence out of a movie or an ad jumped out at me and gave me the answers that I needed. Yes, they are all symbols from the other side. So it's a very personal thing. It's what works for you. I have an aunt that has a particular 3 songs that she likes to either string the 3 together one after the other on something I'm listening to, or decides that she'll put it on in the middle of something on a random station. You know, you might be listening to, nice, gentle music and she'll put on this particular song that doesn't even relate to the flavour of the radio station, and that's her way of getting attention. And it's like, well, okay, take notice of what comes on after this because that's my message to you. So you'll work out your own patterns. But one of the other things that I want to talk about with this is, and one of the very common things that people don't like to talk about because they think people might think they're going mad. You can be focusing on something and all of a sudden you see something out of the corner of your eye. You turn around and you have a focused look and there's nothing there and you think, I must be going mad. No, you're not. That is them getting your attention in a subtle sort of way. I've even had them getting my attention as I'm driving somewhere looking for something and looking at street signs and I'm looking for a particular sign and I'll see a word or a couple of words on a street sign and I look again and it doesn't say that at all. It actually says the name of the street. So be aware for those sort of symbols and signs that are going to be personal to you because they love to do that. Some people get smells. They can smell the pipe tobacco or the perfume or the scent or the coffee or whatever may have been important to them. But one of the other things that most people don't talk about, and I love to talk about, is that they really like to interfere with when we're burning a candle. Now, you might have noticed at different times you're burning a candle and all of a sudden the candle seems to get a mind of its own. It flickers, it hisses and spits and does, different configurations with the flame. That is usually spirit energy. And the same can be said for an open fire. If it's burning nicely and then all of a sudden it starts to go haywire, then you'll know that there's very intense spirit energy around. I know when I was growing up and we, had a plethora of dogs and cats and animals and birds and everything else around us, that I know that my dog particularly used to be in a deep sleep and all of a sudden stand upright and all the hairs would stand up on his body. And I'd know then that there was either someone around or someone was coming to visit that he didn't like and he'd already picked it up even an hour or so before they arrived. So take notice of your animals, take notice of the things that, you sort of can't put an explanation to, that there may just be an answer there. Birds and cats and dogs are very, very sensitive and also very psychic. If you've got a bird that particularly goes off his nana when somebody comes to visit, take notice of that. It might just be one person. The bird's trying to warn you that for some reason they don't like that person or they don't trust them. So, take some time to sort of look for the signs. Don't get paranoid with it. Have some fun with it, but look at what is repeated over and over and over again. And that can be the guideline then to how your passed over relatives and friends are trying to connect with you. So we're going to talk with Crystal in Alma in Arkansas in the USA. Are you there, Crystal? What a pretty name.
Yes, thank you. I'm here.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Crystal?
Well, I lost my husband 18 days ago, so I was wanting to see if you had a message for me.
Okay, sweetie. Look, darling, I'm really, really, really sorry for your loss. I want to share with you that 18 days is probably a little bit too soon for us to expect some sort of message from him, because what he's doing is he's trying to come to terms with what's actually happening in his life, and you are then trying to sort of, get on top of all the gamut of emotions that you'd be going through with the changes that are happening around you. And let me assure you, being widowed is no easy feat. And, whether it's 18 days in or 180 days in, you still got a lot to contend with. I can assure you that he's around you, that he's with you. One of the things that I personally believe in, and it's not necessarily everybody else's belief, that this is my belief, and I've been working in this industry a very long time, and I have been widowed myself, so I can sort of talk about this very much in the eye. My personal belief is that when someone passes over, Crystal, they actually go into sort of like a holding pen. It's like they go there, they've got to go through a certain amount of processes where they come to terms with the fact that they've left the earthly plane. Now, if you look at, it's very sad and it's very tragic that you lost your husband, but you lost one person. If you put yourself in his shoes, he lost everyone. You and everybody else that was important, special, and close to him, he has lost. So he has to do the grieving and come to terms with not ever being able to sit down and have a physical conversation with you again, not to be able to hold you and hold you tight and kiss you good morning and say good night and all those sort of things. So they're the things that he's got to come to terms with in this holding pen before he moves on through to the next level. And it's then as they go to other subsequent levels that they can start to make a direct connection with us. So there's no bus timetable for how long this takes for things to happen. The energy that I was picking up from your departed husband was that he was at peace. I'm not saying he's happy about what's happened, but he's at peace with it. So he's come to terms with it. And I just sort of feel he's going to come and make direct contact with you. Now, that could be in a form of a dream. It could be in some of the things I spoke about earlier before I took your call. So it's like, just be aware of things in the midst of this very turbulent time and with a lot of things that you've got to sort out. Don't look at anything as being, well, that can't be right or that's abnormal. If something happens that makes you feel peace in your heart, that you think that that's your husband, then it truly is. Don't, if you don't want to share that information with someone else, that's fine, because sometimes these things are very personal and it's something that we want to hang on to help us get through the days ahead without that someone that was very unique to us. So I hope that's helped you, Crystal, because it's always a tricky situation when you're widowed and, it's an exclusive club that we don't want any more members to, sweetie.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We're going to speak with Irene in Davidson in Michigan, USA. Are you there, Irene?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Irene?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Do you have a question I can work with, sweetie?
Sure. Do you do the medium work also, or?
I prefer not to on the show because it's very difficult to sort of guarantee that we can tune into who you want to speak to in that very short space of time that we have. If you give me a question to work with, if someone from the other side wants to chime in, I will let you know who they are and what the message is that they're giving me. But usually most of the time people misconstrue with wanting to talk to a medium in as much as they just want an answer to something that's going on in their life. And that's not their role to give us answers to what we should do in life. Their role is to just let us know that they're there, they see us, that they're happy or they're sad with the decisions we're making. It's not their role to tell us what to do.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess I have a question on whether me and my husband should move or not.
Okay. All right. The first thing that they're showing me is there's a number of endings, changes and transformations around you. I don't think that a move is on the cards just yet. I'm sort of being shown that the final decision on this shouldn't be made until after June this year. They were showing me more around August, September. So is there a couple of other things that have got to be coming to play before that decision can be made, and particularly around your husband's work? Is that one of the factors that we're waiting on before we really approach this decision?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, because I just sort of feel if we were expecting some sort of promotion or opportunity or something that's connected to your husband's work, there's still question marks around that, but I was also seeing a delay factor. I felt we should have been sort of getting some answers in that way in the next 30 to 35 days. And to me, they were pushing it out sort of more towards the end of May. So it's sort of like until we get that, then we can't sort of put this other thing up for really serious discussion until we know what we're dealing with. I actually feel as far as your husband's work, I think there's going to be something that's going to come in with that's going to take both of you by surprise. Now, when I use the word surprise, I'm not looking at it as being a negative in this instance. I'm looking at it as being something we hadn't thought of. Oh, hadn't thought of that. Gee, that's a surprise. That sort of surprise, not something that's not nice or something that's negative. This was sort of like, well, I hadn't thought it would go that way, or that hadn't crossed our minds. So it's a good thing. I think it's going to take some readjustment. I think it's also going to reorganize the direction that you would have gone. So with this move, would it be fair to say that that would be a move to another area, like an interstate move?
Out of state move.
Pardon?
It would be an out-of-state move.
Yeah, that's what I mean, an out-of-state move. It wouldn't be staying where you are now. It'd be a long-distance move.
Right.
Yeah. Here in Australia, we call that an interstate move. You call it an out-of-state move. That's why I didn't quite understand what you meant. Okay. No, that's what I was saying. I didn't see you staying in the same location or the same state. To me, this was a big move. I'm never any good on the locations. All I can say to you, if we were looking at the map from the southern side, from where I am in Australia, would the move or could the move sort of take you to the right, more to the east coast?
Okay.
That's what I was being shown. It was sort of like if you were in the sort of towards the middle of the country, it's like I want to take you directly right, sort of more towards, go northeast, go not right on the coast, but closer to the coast than where you are now. And I actually thought it was quite a nice location. It was somewhere that you hadn't even considered moving to, but this is where the work's going to take you. And I actually think it's going to be a long-term move. This is not going to be something that's one of those stepping stone situations. This is going to end up being where you're going to settle for a very long period of time. So it's a nice community. You seem to fit in well there. The whole family seems to flourish there, so that's a good thing. And I feel that the job that's being offered to your husband, as I said, is a little bit of a surprise, but I think it's something that there's also more room for promotion with. It's sort of like this is just the beginning of a very much an expanding role, where if he'd been taken the direction that you two had assumed he would go, it's almost like we'd come to a dead end really quickly, that that'd be like one more promotion maybe after this one, and then that'd be it. Where this other one, it's sort of like there's many rungs of the ladder that he can climb if that's what he chooses to do. But I do think that this is a good move, and I think it's a good move for the family. And, the two of you will really be very, very settled there. Even though you might be a bit away from family, from extended family, it still seems to be the right move for your family, and that's a good thing. So I just want you to sort of continue on just trusting in the process that, you are going to be given some guidance from above, from, passed over relatives and things like that. There's particularly a woman, I would have said like a grandmother or a great-grandmother, somebody that everybody sort of said in the family that she was quite bossy. Everybody went to her with their problems, but you didn't go unless you wanted the truth. She seems to be the one that's heading this up. It's like she's in control of this or helping guide you through this. But you're going to get some very proficient sort of dreams that won't make a lot of sense to you just prior to this being offered to your husband. So if you get some peculiar sort of dreams or dreams that you can't fit into your life now, write them down, write down how you felt, and then look at that situation as this opportunity unfolds. It'll make a lot more sense to you then. But you're starting to really listen to your own inner voice, which is a good thing. That's the start of your own psychic ability and connecting to the other side yourself. I mean, we all have the capabilities of doing it. It's just that we sort of tend to think, oh, that must be my imagination. That really can't be somebody guiding me with that or giving me some information. It must be just my wishful thinking. And quite often it's not our wishful thinking. They have put an idea in our head, but they have to do it in a way that it has to become our own. It can't just be that they can control us from the other side, because they're not allowed to do that. They can make suggestions, and then it's up to us what we do with that suggestion. So don't always look for sort of spirit energy to be something that they're going to come down and, you're going to be a great white apparition sitting at the kitchen table having a coffee with you, giving you the wisdom of the world. It's quite often just in our thoughts that those thoughts have been placed in there by someone from the other side, and it's up to us what we do with that material. So I think you've got a really exciting, interesting year, particularly for the second half of this year. So can I suggest, Irene, between now and then, any spare moments you've got, start clearing out your cupboards, sort of looking at what you'd keep, what you move on, and sort of be ready, because I feel when this move happens, it's going to be very quick. And I want you to be able to be ready to just sort of say, right, we can empty that closet, we can empty that closet, we can empty that one over there. They're all ready to go. I've sifted through what we're keeping and what we're not keeping. So, I think it's going to be an exciting move for the whole family. So I hope that's helped you, Irene.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Great.
Wonderful. Yes, best of luck with your move, Irene. So that was Irene in Davidson in Michigan. So it's really interesting how when we've lost somebody that we sort of tend to immediately think that I've got to try and contact a medium and contact the person that we've lost, because we're looking for some sort of answers. We're looking for some sort of comfort. We always want to know that they're all right. It's sort of like, even though we're sad and we're lost and we've got lots of things going on and we've got a lot of grieving to do, we still need to know that the person that we've just lost is okay. I can guarantee you I haven't had anyone come through yet in 40 odd years and tell me that they weren't okay on the other side. They are always okay. They might not be accepting of the fact that their life here on earth is finished, but they are always okay. And let me assure you and guarantee you, any physical ailment, any illness, any disability, any problem with walking or pain or whatever they had here on earth, that is taken away from them on the other side. They are free, they are mobile, they can get around like 2-year-olds, they can jump, they can dance, they can sing, and they certainly are free of any limitations they had here on earth. It doesn't change their personality when they go through to the other side. If they were a horrible person here on earth, they're still horrible when they go through to the other side. They don't miraculously become a saint. I want to be very clear on that. And their personality doesn't change. So if you're having a mediumistic reading, look for the things that was their personality. Look for words or personality traits in their descriptions and to give you a guidance of who they're actually connecting to. So I hope this has been informative and helped those that have lost someone, whether it's been last week or last year or even 10 years ago. It's always a difficult time, and it's a time that's something that time does heal, but it doesn't necessarily make us forget either. We can have pockets of and waves of grief affecting us even 30, 40 years after we've lost someone. So please understand that and be patient and kind to everyone. And don't forget to be loving and kind to everyone. And let's extend Valentine's Day till at least the end of the month. So until next week, have a great week wherever you are in this world of ours, and bye for now.